Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki
Jai.
Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumarat Padhamastu. Now the evening is quiet. The rain has stopped here in Tirunelveli. It's a letter or stopped. No winds, no gale winds, no heavy rain. The nature has become quiet. The fury is over. And it's getting slowly quiet in other places as well. We do not know why this kind of blessing is coming to us. Surely it's for more cleansing. I was telling this morning how when there was a storm and heavy rain, Bhagwan chose to go to Madurai. It's a big story, very interesting story, but we wouldn't go into the details today. When Bhagwan shifted to Sudama on November 22nd, because of a viral fever, and he needed somebody to attend. And I begged and begged, kept on begging until he consented to come to Sudama for 3 days. But after the doctor, Dr. Radhakrishnan came, he saw the condition Bhagwan's body was in. He said the body had taken enough punishment, lack of food, and ceaseless hard work, living in the marketplace amidst all that horrid noise. All had taken their toll on him. So the doctor said, Swami, you please stay back. There is somebody to attend on you. He was 77. Bhagwan was already 77. So he also begged on our behalf. And Bhagwan stayed on. Not because we begged, not because it was necessary physically for him to have somebody to attend, because Father said so. Those who believe that he is Bhagwan must believe this also, that his Father, without his Father's command, he would never do anything or say anything because there simply wasn't anybody in the body except Father. And it was necessary for his Father's work. And then it happened on December 4th. From December 3rd, there was heavy rain, just like this. Always in November and December. Somehow the fury of nature is unleashed, let loose, for some strange reason. So it was like this. There was storm, heavy rain, and Bhagwan was just recovering, coming out, the last phase of his recuperation. And suddenly he said, we would go to Madurai. This beggar had to go to Madurai. Father says so. So we went there. While going, there was no problem. We reached in 5 or 6 hours. But while returning, we started at 9 o'clock in the morning. The heavy rain started and the storm, gale winds. And the car had to wade through water, knee-deep water in places, while it was pouring, blinding rain and dark everywhere. Though we started 9 o'clock in the morning, when it was 7, 8, very dark, we were still only halfway because there were trees falling every now and then. And finally, at one point, the driver had taken us away from the main road, and it was very soon we found ourselves abandoned, in the sense there was complete darkness everywhere, and the car was almost floating, and he could not go further. The driver was frightened. Despite the presence of Bhagwan in the back seat, he turned and said, and he could not go further. The driver was frightened. Despite the presence of Bhagwan in the back seat, he turned and said, I'm unable to go further. I'm so scared. There could be anything. There's only water, water, water everywhere. And it's completely dark. And then Bhagwan, he was still recovering. He had closed his eyes, and then he just opened a little and said, okay, now you go backwards until this beggar tells you. And then at one point Bhagwan said, you can turn left. And then at another point he said, you can turn right now. And then we were there on the main road, and there were lights and also traffic. Bhagwan, how did he know? He had not even opened his eyes. But why I am saying this, until the driver surrendered, saying that as long as he was going, Bhagwan just let him. He was not in the least bothered where the car was being taken. But the minute the driver said, I'm unable to go any further, I'm afraid the car is now floating, there's so much water, darkness. Then Bhagwan took over. He said, without even seeing, he had not been there for many, many years, and he guided him back to the main road. I understood that day that he would go with the flow of life unless people seek the saving grace. The divine would not interfere. The divine would simply let go, let the flow go, unless they seek divine intervention. The divine would not interfere. But if we seek divine intervention, and if the divine takes over, it would be perfect. So, whatever happens, the fury of nature or the virulent virus, the world needs to remember God and invoke His grace. Probably for this to happen, maybe such sufferings also have to happen. It's all part of our cleansing. I remember another time we have been listening to another story, like how somebody, a family, was driving amidst rain and storm, and then the whole family stopped in one place and they started to chant. They were chanting, and within minutes the rain stopped, the road cleared, and there was no traffic, and they could reach the railway station in time. So such things happen. Now today we shall see two more episodes just to relive their experiences so that we would know what it is in such situations, the suffering and the grace. Shri Raju, alias Raju Chettiar, he and his wife Mangayar Karasi, they would come to the ashram very often. Even now, it's because of the corona, we have not seen them for some time, but they would come often and serve in the ashram very quietly, and whatever work was given to them, they would immediately take it up and serve well. Shri Raju had gone to Devaki. It was about this time. I think there was some Kumbhabhishekam to Murugan, Lord Muruga, and there was also the feeding of the public. So it was a regular function every year, and he had gone there, and his son Valliappan also had come all the way from Chennai to attend the function. When it was over, Valliappan insisted on going back to Chennai because the next day he had some important work. His father, Shri Raju, tried to tell him not to take up journey in the night, but he would not listen because of the pressure of the work. So finally, about 4 o'clock, he left Devaki. He was going alone. He was driving the car himself, was going alone. Shri Raju had his own apprehension, but then he could do nothing about it. About 11:30 in the night, he had a phone call from Valliappan. He was saying 10 kilometers from Dindivanam. He was driving the car half asleep. He could not help it. and it had come to the edge of the road and there was a drop of 10 feet, 10, 15 feet, and the car had rolled twice and had touched the ground with the wheels up. Fortunately, he had put on his safety belt and somehow he escaped from any injuries. And he managed to come out and shout, and then somebody came for help and he was pulled out. So he was phoning up. He was phoning from someone else's phone. So Raju was alarmed. He was very anxious. He started to chant Bhagwan's name and he said, "What happened? What happened? Why did you do this? Where are you now? Maybe you're not telling me all the details. Why should you phone up from somebody else's phone?" Then Valliappan assured him that he was not injured at all, and he even made the helper speak. The helper also assured, "Yes, true, that the car has met with an accident. It's down there in the pit. But luckily, or by Bhagwan's grace, by God's grace, there is no rocks there, no water, no trees. So your son has escaped unscathed." And he was wearing the safety belt. So that's one of the reasons why he was saved. But then it's all God's grace, because he could have been pushed out. Anything could have happened to the car. He could have been pushed out. He could have been under the car, crushed. Or there could have been rocks there. He could have hit against it. Could be trees, causing more complications. So rest assured that your son is okay, not injured at all, but the car is in very bad shape. So that put him to rest for some time, but again, he had faith in Bhagwan. So he was chanting this name, Bhagwan's name, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, all the time, praying and praying. And Valliappan also assured that he was chanting the name even while driving. And by Bhagwan's grace and the safety belt, he was all right. So within minutes, the police came, and the police would not believe the story of Valliappan. They said, "You could not have come alone. Just see the way the wheels have turned up. There must be somebody with you who is probably under the car. Something must have happened. He must have died, because it's a major accident. It's a terrible accident. How could you have escaped unhurt, unscathed? It's just not possible. You are telling us a lie." It took some convincing on the part of Valliappan, because the police wouldn't believe. And then finally, they said, "Okay, because you were wearing safety belt, you escaped unhurt." And they were still doubtful. But then Valliappan knew better. He knew it was the safety belt was nothing but Bhagwan's grace. It was Bhagwan's grace, the nama that he was chanting, even though he was half asleep. The nama he was chanting all the time must have made him, otherwise why would he? He could have easily left it. What made him put on the safety belt? Many people drive without it. And so you see how, because it looks like an ordinary episode, that there are people who meet with accidents, many incidents where Bhagwan's grace has come to their rescue. But just imagine the position of Shri Raju and his son, 12 o'clock in the night. And the thing is, Bhagwan fulfilled Valliappan's wish. After that, they brought a crane and pulled out the car. The car was, of course, obviously completely useless, and it had to be dumped somewhere, the nearest station. And then he took a bus from there, reached Chennai. By 5 o'clock in the morning, I was back to work, just as he wanted. The grace. There was also an incident we heard some time back, how in Tirunelveli, a driver who was a great devotee of Bhagwan, chanting, happened to fall asleep while driving. He was not doing anything, he had just fallen asleep on the steering, and still the car had gone on another 75 kilometers without the driver doing anything at all. When he woke up, he found the car advancing, and he knew instantly it was Bhagwan who was steering it. So the way the grace works, without which we cannot even breathe, we cannot live our life, from the smallest detail to the highest, we need grace. There's another incident. The French people, there is honored a spiritual leader with his own following, with his own set of disciples. They live in a place in France. He used to send his students every year. Some 10 of them would come and stay in the ashram for a week or 10 days. And every day morning, they would present themselves at 5:45. They would attend the arati and start from 6 o'clock, chanting Yogi Ramsuratkumar mantra. They would go round and round and round the murti, and they would sing in unison. And they would go on till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And sometimes some of them would go on till evening, 6 o'clock. They would not talk to each other. Of course, we would give them breakfast and tea and lunch. But there was such a discipline and beauty in their singing. And they would go on for 10 days. Once I asked them how their master would send them. They said their master, Honored Ajadam, had given instructions that once a year they should come to India, come straight to Yogi Ashram, chant his name for 10 days, and then go over to Anand Ashram, chant Ram Nam, and then back to France, back to the ashram, straight. I asked them, why would your master say that? His path, because the path he prescribed for his devotees was different from Nama chanting. So I said, why? Why would you sing the name Yogi Ramsuratkumar? They said, our master wants it, and what is more, our singing the name here, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, he helps us in our path. He helps us to go deeper in our path. We have found it very helpful, very protective. Now, one Sylvie from this group, at the time of this event, she was living in a small town. Her parents were already old, father 87, mother 84. And mother had contracted cancer. They suspected cancer. And the doctor, she had made an appointment with the doctor for her mother on a particular day at about 11 a.m. and she was living 4 hours away from her parents. She wanted to be back with her parents when the doctor came to check her, to diagnose and prescribe. So she took leave from work. Sylvie took a train. She had to come to a certain place called Valence and then take a connecting train. It would take 4 hours to reach her parents' place. And she had fixed up. She had told the doctor she would be there by 10:30 with her parents, and 11 o'clock she would come, and the diagnosis and the treatment, all that. But what happened? The very first train itself was delayed by 45 minutes. She was stuck there in the train, unable to do anything about it. All she could think of immediately was Yogi Ramsuratkumar. So she started chanting desperately. Yogi Ramsuratkumar, please help. I have to be with my mother. Aged mother, is 84. They need me. Please help. She was crying and praying. Nevertheless, she came late to the connecting station, and there was absolutely no way she could find a connecting train because that would have left before, 1 hour before or 45 minutes before. So she was wondering what to do when suddenly a train entered the station, and they stopped it and said, somebody came and said, where do you want to go? And she mentioned the township of her parents' place. And they said, okay, this train is going, it will stop exactly where you want. Go. She could not believe it, that a train would come at that time to take her, to drop her at the station where she wanted. What a miracle for her. So she boarded the train, and somehow she managed to be, the train was fast, and she managed to be back with her parents. And when she reached, it was 10:55, 5 minutes before 11 a.m. She rushed to the doctor's place, and the doctor said, relax, there's no hurry. We have been searching for her previous reports for the past 25 minutes. We just got it probably when you stepped in. Only now I'm going to do my checking up. Just see the way things get arranged. Every little detail matters when you are in a fix. And every little detail is meticulously arranged by the divine when you invoke the grace by calling out Yogi Ramsuratkumar. This is the point. In both the cases, just chanting the name did the magic. Impossibles became possible. Thanks to Bhagwan's powerful, Shaktishali Nama, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Now this Bhagwan is here. We prayed yesterday for the winds and rain to do little damage. We prayed that there should be no damage, no threat to life or things. And today we shall offer our daily prayer. The Chennai city and other cities would return to normal soon. Bhagwan, we seek once again, just as these people did, we seek your immediate divine intervention. to free the world from the clutches of this virus. And now this reins. We hope there is no new spread. We beg you to stop the spread of the disease, to remove panic from the hearts of people, to protect all those who are already helping in the field, and above all to enter some medicine, some vaccine that would destroy this virulent virus. And Bhagwan, give a boost to the falling economy. And above all, we seek your grace again and again for constant remembrance of your name, constant remembrance of your leelas, and constant awareness that we are only tools in your hands. We should become fitting tools to go about